What do you get when you cross a mirror and a joke? Self-reflective humor. What's going on, YouTube? So something that has been wished upon, hoped for by many Elder Scrolls Online players, you see it in the thumbnail, you see it in the title, has finally been hinted at by the developers directly. So I wanted to talk about this and also talk about a bit of fears that people might have, because you might think the ESO developers are working on the underlying text for possible crossplay. That's absolutely fantastic. What could anybody be upset about that? You know, let's break down what they're said first. Then we'll talk about some of the complications that may occur and some balancing that may need to occur. But let's go through the fun stuff first. So obviously they talk about the fact that, hey, the Elder Scrolls Online is not crossplay enabled. It's got PC servers, Xbox servers, PlayStation servers, all those things. But during a podcast with Greg Miller's Kind of Funny, as reported by PC Games and Elder Scrolls Online game director Rich Lambert and ZeniMax Online Studios head Matt Fryer talk about the studio's plan for the game's future. Of course, one of the biggest questions is whether or not crossplay is ever coming. And they first say the generic, anything's possible. But they did say that we're working on some underlying tech changes that would make it possible. We know how important it is. We started working on the game in 2007. We didn't even think about 2 platforms, much less 6 that we support now. It's something we know about and it's something we really want to do. We're working on the underlying tech for it, and we'll see if we can make it happen. So the Elder Scrolls Online, like any other MMO, has spent hundreds of thousands of hours playing over several years, so asking them to abandon an account to make that account a legacy just to play with someone is on another platform is a very big ask. And hopefully a remedy is on the way in some form of crossplay. Now, interestingly, I never expected more of a direct answer, because I always thought that we would get an answer like, you know, anything is possible, because that's kind of the generic corporate, yeah, anything's possible, you know. But then they also say we're actively working on some underlying tech changes. Now you might think to yourself, Jay, can't they just flip a switch? Well, if you merged right now all of the servers together, you would also have some major implications for guilds. You'd have some major implications for the economy, and I wanted to talk about that for a moment because a lot of people are really excited about this possibility. People were talking about it in Discord. I'm also very excited. I think it's the solution for so many things. Dungeon queue finders, PvP. Like, think about how many more people are going to be doing trials, looking for groups, housing contests. Even it will be easier to grade. Literally everything is just easier with thousands of players. But there are some things that become a little bit more difficult. For example, you know, there's people who are, you know, paying tens of millions of gold per week to be inside of Deshawn for guild traders. Well, how does that work when their entire currency becomes absolutely deflated when they merge with PC? So PC, everything's like 2 to 3 to 4 times more expensive, depending on what you're getting. So there's this big fear that if all of the servers were to merge, that there would be a huge inflation on the market, because so many people are going to have so much gold on PC that they would be able to basically just bully all of the console players. Now, there's ways that you could avoid that. For example, I think you might see this if they said next year we're releasing crossplay, all of the console players will probably start storing and hoarding resources like dragons. Like, that way, whenever they do the actual crossplay, then it's like, okay, well, now I can actually go and sell all these materials to all these PC players at inflated prices, and now I will get an inflated amount of money because I'm selling things at a higher rate of value. It's kind of like when the Spanish brought back a bunch of gold from the New World in the 14th century. Most of you won't understand that reference, but I'm sure at least a handful of you will. But it brings up an interesting question. What does ZOS then do with the guild traders? So, for example, bidding on guild traders is one of the #1 ways that the Elder Scrolls Online fights inflation. And it's very important that it does so, because by doing so, it keeps the prices from becoming inflated. World of Warcraft has a huge hyperinflation problem. RuneScape has a huge hyperinflation problem. So how does the Elder Scrolls Online fight that? Well, they burn gold every week in their economy by making the winning guild trader bids. Their currency that they won just gets thrown into the fires of Mordor and destroyed out of circulation. And because of that, it helps keep things at a pretty nominal value throughout time. The problem is going to be is if you just merge 3 guilds together, are you going to see like a hyper fight, for these guilds? And they may say, hey, that's good, because if more people are bidding on these guild traders, that's just going to cause more deflation. Even if they actually added more guild traders, that's still more deflation, because now there's more guilds that are burning currency. So let's say they added, 3 times the amount of guild traders inside of here. Well, now they can essentially just triple the amount of currency that they're burning through every guild trader. In fact, you could even talk to this guild trader. Let's say there was 3 versions of himself, A, B, C, and you could bid on A, B, or C. My solution, this is my solution, is for the first year of crossplay, right? Guild traders from Xbox will have specific guild traders that they can bid on. So let's say that this guild trader, I'm not going to try to pronounce their name, Endo, just like the Liverpool player. I'm going to ignore the last half of the name. So Endo, you have an A, B, and a C slot. A is for PC, B is for PlayStation, C is for Xbox. Now it's only the previous Xbox guilds that have to compete for that Xbox slot. You'll still burn, money through the economy, but now you're only competing against other Xbox people, which will be a little bit more of a level playing field. Because if not, if you just tripled the guild traders, well, all of the PC guilds will probably just absorb most of those slots. After a bit of time, you would definitely see a return of the normal Elder Scrolls guilds that play on console, but they're going to be at such a disadvantage. It's going to be very stressful for them, and I know it's going to be stressful for them, because whenever there's crossplay discussed in their discords or bans, they're like, oh man, I hope that never happens. And on the surface, that's really the only reason that people don't want crossplay to happen. Because if you're a brand new player and you're like, why don't people want to play with other people? It's because you're mixing and matching so many economies that existed in an echo chamber, and you're just squishing them together. And, you're going to have a complete currency chaos ensuing on the server. So it would be very interesting to see. I find this actually more fascinating than subclassing. Like, how can you, like, what would you invest in that's like inflation proof, like probably like a lot of like furniture stuff, like mundane runes, heartwood. Like, you need to start to find things that are like very PC and like end game community focused. So I think mundane runes, heartwood, start stocking up on those bad boys. But there's also a housing contest right now, so this is also a great time to sell those items. So there's so many mix and match and pieces here of like, what's the best thing for you to purchase? Upgrade materials are generally always good. So people might start just ripping those off the market, holding on to them with the assumption to resell them. Like, let's say Zoss says, 2026, that's when we're doing the crossplay merge. People will just start slowly purchasing and hoarding onto all those upgrade materials, then to resell them. Normally, I would say Tri-Stat and then Tri-Stat alchemy ingredients are the best thing to do it. But now with update 46, you can buy those with 1,000 alliance points, which granted are bound, but how many people have 1,000 alliance points to buy some potions with? So that's where it's like, I know multiple people with billions of alliance points, so they don't need to worry about ever running out of Tri-Stat potions ever again, even though they can't resell them. But it's interesting. Let me know in the comments below, what would you say is the most inflation-proof item? Like, what's the gold of ESO that's obviously not gold, because gold's going to be worthless? Because even stuff that you would think like are normally really value and will gain value if you went to PC, like treasure maps, like they're going to go down in value. One, because they've existed for too much time, and just by existing, they lose value, like buying a new Nissan Sentra. And as the servers merge, people are going to not pay as much for treasure maps also, because there's going to be more people farming them and finding them. So it's so interesting. What do you guys think in the comments below? Most inflation-proof item? I'm going to go with mundane runes and heartwood, but I feel like that's a bit of a cop-out. So I also put dragon blood and dragon ream in there as well, because you just don't see people farming them. But then when you merge all the servers together, how many people are going to be farming dragons, because you're going to triple the player pop? But too many variables here. But everyone, the quick TLDR is the underlying tech changes for crossplay to occur are being worked on to see if it's a possibility. This is a huge update and will potentially be what is the future of the Elder Scrolls Online. I actually thought that this might be the way that they were going. When I saw that they were putting, a lot of emphasis on add-ons for console, what that's doing is also kind of equilibralizing basically the level footing that both consoles have. And what it also does is it gives people access to a lot of gold making add-ons, like the easy RIT voucher ones, for example. It also will help you find materials and things in the overworld. So I think that by doing that change, they're kind of slowly setting us up for that. But how they actually make the economy work once we would get to that point is going to be very, very fascinating. So if it does happen, I'll be absolutely chuffed. We'll have so much more to talk about. All these boring subclassing conversations can turn into which items that you own are the most inflation proof. That'll be a much more fun conversation. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, we're doing our 3 giveaway drawings. All you need to do to enter is leave a comment in the comments below / like on the video. Second thing is look for a hidden word to be flashed upon the screen. There's one hidden word for the month of May, and then every single video for the month of June will have one. And the third thing is just make sure you're subscribed. We're on the road to 32,000 subscribers. Please hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.